What the city is talking about.
The news that impacts you.
Welcome to the Montreal Now podcast.
With Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
Welcome to The Week That Was here on the iHeartRadio Network. I'm Aaron Rand along with Natasha Hall. And this week we'll look at these stories. Canada's inflation rate climbed back up to 4% this week, led by a surge in gas prices. But as analysts expected, the Bank of Canada held firm on an interest rate hike. Is this the beginning of a trend, or are there still clouds on the horizon? Economist David MacDonald shares his view.
Got a whole lot of feel-good stories this week, including perhaps the most unlikely place for a fairy tale wedding, a fish plant, during a hurricane. Yeah, this is not your typical love story, but you are going to love how this Nova Scotia couple rolled with the punches and didn't let anything ruin their big day. Also, you'll meet a 13-year-old from BC who just landed a deal with PlayStation for a game he developed. Yeah, 13 years old. And get this, he's been doing this since he was 6. Max TREST is his name, and Astrolander is his game.
A real underachiever. Most people who decide to go to clown school do so because, well, they imagine themselves either working in the circus or with a troupe like Cirque du Soleil, for example. But GUILLAUME VERMETTE used his clown school training to spread joy and love in some of the world's most difficult locales, most recently in war-torn Ukraine. His story will touch you.
Well, whenever you hear stories about people doing good things, I think, even in the tougher of times, it helps put a smile on your face. So this is one of those stories. GUILLAUME VERMETTE, otherwise known as Yahoo, that's his clown name, is working in a war zone. He's a humanitarian clown. He's from Trois-Rivieres, and he's been doing this for many, many years. And he joins us now by Zoom from Jordan. Thank you so much for your time today, Guillaume.
Hello.
Now, would you prefer we call you Guillaume or Yahoo?
Guillaume.
Okay, so otherwise known as Yahoo the Clown. How long have you been a clown for?
I've been a clown for around 18 years, I believe, a humanitarian clown. I worked in more than 40 countries, mostly orphanages, refugee camps, and hospitals.
So I'm imagining as you're traveling the world, and you've been doing this for 18 years from what I understand, most recently in war-torn Ukraine, your whole job as a humanitarian clown is to try and make people smile and have a good time, and yet it's in the most difficult of circumstances. How do you do it, Guillaume?
Well, I have many tools in my pocket. I'm a trained clown actor from clown school, and clown is such a powerful tool to connect with people, and I use it as a way to contribute to people's well-being. It's a kind of a universal language based on emotion and physicality, physical theater movement. So it helps to connect with people very, very quickly. Yes, often it makes them laugh, often it make them smile, but the real magic happen in the emotional connection I get with people. I also use circus quite a lot. I also studied psychology for a few years. And with all these years, I've developed many techniques on how to contribute, to kids that have been through war and violence, to contribute to their well-being, but also in the healing of their trauma, so they can express themselves and live some success through very, very simple games, but that create magical, significant moment while I'm there in the refugee camps with them.
So I have a question. I'm imagining, you said you went to clown school. Was this always your idea? When you went to clown school, most people you talk to say because they'd want to join a circus or join Cirque du Soleil. Did you always think that you wanted to become an emotional clown?
Yes, actually, I thought at first I will become a psychologist. I went to university and I just wanted to help people and to make them feel good. But something felt wrong with psychology. Like, it's not me. I'm a crazy guy. I'm an energetic guy, very expressive and creative person. And it happened randomly. I was working as, I think I was 17 years old, if I remember well. I was in Salouit. It's an Inuit community in Nunavik, in the northern of Quebec. And I was working with children over there. And many of them came to me and opened and said they wanted to die. And it broke my heart. And I felt a responsibility to do something. And I just improvise myself as a clown out of nowhere in Salouit, because there was a ugly clown wig. I knew nothing of clowning. I thought, like everybody, it's all about being funny and that it's like a big face painting, but actually it's a very difficult technical type of theater that is based on emotion. But anyway, I improvised myself as a clown. I was a failure. I was a failure. Didn't make anybody laugh and sell it. But I was just starting to realize the power of clowning, that they could feel I care about them, I guess, and it create a genuine, authentic human connection. And this is where I decided I will become a humanitarian clown. And I went just after this experience to clown school and mine that dream of becoming a humanitarian clown. And it has been all my life since.
It's your life's
That's
work.
amazing.
I'm imagining it must be incredibly rewarding to do the kind of work that you do, but it's also, I mean, you go to scary and dangerous places under circumstances that are far from ideal. Like we said, you were in war-torn Ukraine just recently. Right now, you're joining us from Jordan. What keeps you going, and how do you tend to your own mental health in all of this, Guillaume?
I think I will always benefit more from this job than I can ever give to the people I connect with, because it's so much fun. It's so meaningful. I just love it so much. I'm addicted to this job. But yes, I see difficult realities. I need to be careful, and I've learned through the years to be careful, to respect my limits, to express myself when I need help, to go find help, to always work as a team also. I work mostly with an organization from Quebec called Caravane Philanthrope, with 40 humanitarian clowns working in all sorts of contexts. And I also go through some, I was about to say the word traumatic, but that might be a bit intense, but like scary situation. Like recently I was in Lviv. That is a city in the western part of Ukraine that is considered to be an oasis of peace in the middle of this war-torn country. But I woke up at 4 a.m. one day because there was explosion very close to the apartment where I was living. And some situation like that happened to me sometimes. And yes, it is not always easy.
I wonder too, what you said before really struck me. I think most of us would think,
Yes.
A clown's job is to make kids or grown-ups even smile, laugh, etc. And you're suggesting much more, right? You talked about a human connection. So for all the places you have traveled around the world, and you have been many different places, is there one thing you tend to see all the time from the people you try to entertain, from the kids that you work with?
Yes, I think all human, whatever their age, from all around the planet, after seeing 40 countries, want basically the same thing, but with different code and cultures. So there's some small difference in the kind of joke you can make. But the thing is, my job is not really about joke. It's like just emotional connection. So that is universal. And I realize that everybody just want to be loved. Everybody just want to be loved, to be happy, to have fun. And so 99.99% of the time when I get somewhere, people are just so happy and welcoming. They're like, yes, we're going to have fun with that guy. It's a very, very meaningful job, a fulfilling job.
I'm going to guess you've hugged a lot of people as well.
Oh, yeah. I do hug a lot of people. And recently, actually, I was in a hospital for soldiers, Ukrainian soldier in Ukraine. And I'm a therapeutical clown as well. It means that I work in hospitals and nursing homes. So I'm trained for this kind of job. But my Ukrainian friend knew nothing about that. They were a bit concerned. Like, are you sure you're going to do clowning with grown-up men soldiers? I'm not sure they're going to appreciate it. But as soon as I was walking in a room of a injured soldier, he will cry and hug me when he understood this guy came from Canada just to wish me a good day, to say hello and to have fun with me. They will cry. And sometimes they had no arms. They lost their arm during the war. They were injured. And it's a really weird and powerful feeling to have a grown-up man with no arm trying to hug you with all his strength and crying at the same time. We don't speak the same language, but we could connect in such a powerful way. I'll remember and cherish that moment forever.
What an amazing story.
What you're doing is incredible, Guillaume. I'm trying to think how you even take that all in when you come back to Trois-Rivieres and you just go about. I mean, I suppose there is no regular day-to-day life for you, really, is there?
I mean, right now I feel regular for me, so I'm doing show in Jordan for Syrian refugees and refugee camps. But in between trips, I usually have a few months or a few weeks. And the first 1 or 2 weeks that I come back home in Trois-Rivieres, I will just lay down and eat poutine nonstop.
That's what Natasha does on Saturdays. That's
you
so
deserve
funny.
it. Holy moly. Guillaume, you are a remarkable person. I think all we want to say is thank you so much for the work you're doing, and thank you for the time you've given us today. Keep up the great, amazing work that you do.
And we are very, very lucky to have someone like you doing what you do. So to Natasha's point, thank you so much. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Very nice of you. Thank you for having me. Have a good day, everyone.
You too.
What a pleasure. That's Guillaume Vermette. He's a humanitarian clown. He's from Trois-Rivieres. His clown name is Yahoo.
Informative.
Interactive.
And always interesting.
This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
Canada's inflation rate climbed back up to 4% this week, led by a surge in gas prices. But as analysts expected, the Bank of Canada held firm on an interest rate hike. Is this the beginning of a trend, or are there still clouds on the horizon? Economist David MacDonald shares his view. Look, it was a day ago, right? Canada's inflation rate came in at 4%, which doesn't sound terrible, but of course it's well above what the Bank of Canada wants to see before things begin to stabilize. It's also up, by the way, from 3.3% in July, so that's significant. This time around, the increase largely driven by rising gas prices, but maybe of greater concern, what we're seeing in rent. Rent up 6.5% year over year, the biggest increase we've seen in that category in at least 30 years, not months. David MacDonald is a senior economist at the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives. Mr. MacDonald, thank you for being here. You know, I was trying to do a good news, bad news, so I've given the bad news. Is there any good news here in these numbers?
It's cheaper to get a plane ticket. Certainly tourism prices are down a little bit. And certainly when it comes to grocery prices, they're still high on a year-over-year basis, but it's largely due to what happened in November, December, and January, the end of 2022 and the start of this year. That's where we saw big increases in grocery food prices. But since then, they've been fairly moderate. So we're at a higher level, and actually in the past month, we've actually seen grocery store prices on a month-to-month basis drop by about 0.5%. So slightly better news there, but certainly still far above where they were, say, in 2019.
I don't want to talk about gas prices, but I guess we should talk about gas prices. Can we expect things to stabilize and even get better there?
So what we saw was that gas prices fell in July, and so we got some benefit of that in a lower inflation number in the July figures, which came in at 3.3%, and then went back up again in August. And so we are seeing the result of that combined with other things at the 4% level. That's sort of the headline rate. Gas prices have gone slightly higher since then, and so that doesn't bode well for the next data, which will come out, at the end of September. We're sort of 3/4 of the way through the month. That'll be the September data. One of the big issues with gas prices as well as food is, these prices aren't determined here. Interest rate policy has little impact on them. And so whether they're high or low is outside of the control of Canadian governments and the Bank of Canada.
You know, I wonder, so we had the U.S. Fed today come in and not change rates, keep them where they were. That was widely expected. The same thing, I think, can be said of the situation here with the Bank of Canada. We didn't expect a hike, but the banks seem to go out of their way, both here and south of the border, to let us know that, hey, we're not out of the dark here yet. There is a chance of more hikes to come. And now they're talking already about maybe this doesn't moderate to the point where we can start to see drops until sometime next year.
Yeah, certainly the 4% figure was a bit of a surprise. It was certainly higher than expected. I think that if we see another month worth of, a relatively high amount of September data, say over 3.5%, that's going to put us at very high risk of another rate increase in the October 25th decision of the Bank of Canada. There's a decision in October and the decision in December. The other thing that's going on here is that the Bank of Canada actually doesn't follow the headline rate as much as its own measures. It's got these three sort of custom versions of the inflation index that try to strip away some of the more volatile parts of the index. And 2 out of the 3 of those went up in the August data. They've actually stayed well outside of this, 1 to 3 range. In the previous 2 months during the summer, the headline rate flirted with 3%. It was just under 3% in June, just over in July. But the Bank of Canada's custom measures have never been that close, and 2 of the 3 of them went up. So I just think this is really bad news and really sets us up for the potential of not rate decreases, but more rate increases in the fall.
What are those items that you mentioned that we all look at other things, of course. What are the key metrics that the Bank of Canada is looking at?
They have 3 CPI versions that strip out some of the more volatile measures and try to get to what they call core inflation. And so, it strips out things like food and gas, which are quite volatile, and tries to focus in on some of the other measures. And so they think those are better measures of core inflation, and so they follow those more closely. And so if you're seeing those go in the wrong direction, or 2 out of the 3 go in the wrong direction, that is potentially more important than seeing the headline figure go in the wrong direction, although both of those happened in the August data.
So, Mr. MacDonald, I heard you on CTV describing or warning, really, that we were in a dangerous situation here in Canada. And is that because you are anticipating more rate hikes, and how does that make things dangerous, per se?
Well, what's important now is certainly gasoline is playing a part in higher inflation, but so is mortgage payments and rent. And mortgage payments and rent go in the same direction as interest rates. So as interest rates rise, so do mortgage payments. Talk to anybody with a variable rate mortgage. But interestingly, as interest rates rise, so do rent. As landlords see their mortgage costs go up, they try to push those additional costs onto tenants through rent increases. And so the August data showed 6.5% year-over-year increase in rent. That's the highest we've ever seen in this series. The series goes back to 92, so at least 30 years. And so this is the other part of the situation we're in now, is that interest rates are driving critical parts of inflation, particularly when it comes to mortgage interest costs and rent, in addition to, gas and other things fluctuating. We haven't seen any real GDP growth, or any change in real GDP growth, rather, since January. January through July has been dead flat in terms of real GDP growth. So the economy is basically flatlining. What that means is that it doesn't really take very much to push us decisively into the negative category, into potential recession category. And particularly when we're not seeing inflation come down very much. I mean, the bank expected that for the coming months we'd see about 3% inflation and that it would slowly get back to normal. We're not seeing that. We're seeing it go back up to 4%. And that, I think, really sets us up for the potential of more rate increases. Of course, the bank isn't targeting GDP. That's sort of secondary to them. The labor market is secondary. What's primary and front of mind for them is getting that inflation rate back down to 3%, and they're going to do it through interest rates and potentially interest rate hikes. That could now really start to bite as we see, rent and mortgage costs go through the roof.
And it's so weird as I hear you describe that, and people have brought this up as well. You're kind of shooting yourself in the foot as the Bank of Canada, right? You hike interest rates because inflation is still running too hot. Now you end up driving rents up, as you described. You end up driving mortgages up, as you described, which really just feeds inflation even more. It seems like a situation you can't get out of.
Yeah, I mean, what's supposed to happen, this isn't what's happening, but what's supposed to happen is supposed to be an offset. The offset is, yes, mortgage and rent costs go up, but housing costs go way down, and so do the cost of cars. Both of things you buy with debt, and so as the mortgage costs or the carrying costs go up for a car loan or a mortgage, people buy a lot fewer houses, buy a lot fewer cars. We have seen house prices come down a bit, but it's not like we're not even close to where we were even in 2019 pre-pandemic. So we're just not seeing that sort of leverage kick that you'd expect on the housing side. We're not seeing it on the vehicle side either because of the huge shortage of vehicles. Mm-hmm. Vehicle prices are still going through the roof, even though to carry that cost through a car loan is very expensive. So you're not getting that trade-off that you'd otherwise expect. You're just getting the cost side without the decrease in prices.
Well, glad we were able to give everybody some wonderful news today of what to look forward to. Mr. MacDonald, I thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
David MacDonald from the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives. Not a whole lot of green lights in there, huh?
Informative.
Interactive. And always interesting.
This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
Got a whole lot of feel-good stories this week, including perhaps the most unlikely place for a fairy tale wedding, a fish plant. During a hurricane. Yeah, this is not your typical love story, but you are going to love how this Nova Scotia couple rolled with the punches and didn't let anything ruin their big day. Well, sometimes you've just got to roll with the punches and things can have a way of working out. So a couple in Nova Scotia had to completely change their wedding plans thanks to Hurricane Lee. Listen, it might have been downgraded to a tropical storm by the time it hit there, but their plans had to be completely changed. They were supposed to be married under a tent, and instead they got married in a fish plant. So how does this still end up being a fairy tale ending? We're going to find out. Brittany Schnarre and Drew Mitchell are that couple, and they both join us now. First and foremost, congratulations, guys.
Thank you so much. We are so excited and still on a high from the weekend.
Are you on your honeymoon right now?
Yes, we're just in Prince Edward Island to play some golf for a few days.
Golf on your honeymoon.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
That's the groom's pick.
I understand.
Okay, there you go. Each to their own, but how wonderful that you've made it this far and that the wedding went off more or less without a hitch. So tell us how this went down. You're looking at the forecast and you're thinking there's no way the tent is going to cut it.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we did wait till Thursday morning to make that final decision, which put our wedding planner in a bit of a pinch trying to execute the pivot. But Monday of last week, things weren't looking good. I was still really optimistic. We started to explore backup venues such as Legion halls and rec centers and community halls. And it just wasn't feeling quite, Brittany and Drew-ish enough. So my dad, actually, who owns the fish plant, he suggested a little bit wearily his fish plant as the backup venue, thinking I might, have a meltdown at that idea. But it felt perfect, and it was perfect.
I love that you said that a fish plant felt just right.
Okay, but
After
you should
everything
see
else didn't work.
They transformed this fish plant. And first of all, Brittany, the wedding was originally meant to take place on your father's property. So your dad was already involved in the plans, right?
Correct, exactly. He was, landscaping for the last 12 months to try and get the property up to his standards. So this is also quite devastating for him until we really pulled it all off.
Okay, so how exactly did you pull? So it was supposed to be a beautiful tent on your father's property, and it gets moved to a fish plant. How the heck do you transform it?
I have a question. Like when you say fish plant, I'm picturing a smelly fish plant with smelly fish.
There were live lobsters.
Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, well, it is an active, they do mostly lobster, but they also do halibut, haddock, like mackerel, all kinds of other things, but it is predominantly a lobster processing facility. Well, it was a labor of love. The whole staff and team really that work at Deep Cove Aqua Farms came together Thursday and Friday after we made the decision and prepped this. They have one large room, and it's a 30,000 square foot facility. So they have one large room that is about 55 by 75 feet, and it's essentially a blank canvas. Of course, it needed to be scrubbed and cleared out, but once that was done, the wedding planner really was like, wow, this is a perfect canvas now that you can't smell, the lobster in here anymore.
Yeah, that made it perfect now that you couldn't smell them. I'm sorry, was this, I don't know because I didn't see the story. Was it lobster themed?
Yes, actually. So that's the other really interesting thing. My original wedding plan, because we did get married in a rural fishing community, whether it was the original venue or this one, I had lobster traps and buoys and all of those authentically Nova Scotia decor. So it was easy to transform that from an outdoor wedding to an indoor wedding because it all made sense.
Now, I'm feeling for your wedding planner, though. I mean, it really did look beautiful. It was transformed. There was like fairy lights strung from the ceiling and curtains cascading. I mean, it all came together. Did anybody almost get killed in the process? I have to ask. Hopefully not the bride or groom. I have to ask.
Well, I would say there were some points where I saw my dad coming in and out, and I could tell he was extremely stressed because the one thing that was really important to this event was making sure that the backup generators were working so that we had full power capacity, and because the entire province of Nova Scotia essentially had no power. And luckily, they had their electrician come in the day of and get that all set up. And you know what? The roads ended up being okay. The snowplow and the community plowed all the seaweed and rocks and debris off the road so that cars could drive safely. It was quite eventful. It was one thing after another, honestly. But once we all got inside the venue, it was like a huge sigh of relief, and the party was just absolutely epic.
What was going on outside? You know, you mentioned about the generator, and we obviously know the weather. Was it absolutely crazy outside? Winds, poles, hydro poles being knocked down, that kind of thing? What was happening?
It wasn't, poles weren't going down, but there was quite a few trees. So I headed down to the plant. I dropped Brittany off with the girls to get ready at about 9 a.m. And I headed down to the plant to check on Andy and drop a few things off. And I, on the way down, there was trees down. When I got near the plant, the waves had actually thrown a bunch of boulders and seaweed all over the road. So you kind of had to do a little dipping and dodging to make sure you didn't run over too much. But the community in Chester, the municipality kind of take care of each other. So they were out there getting the trees cut down, making sure the roads were safe. The snow, as Brittany said, the snowplow was out there. We were inside the plant. Andy was getting
Andy's the father of the bride.
Electricity going. Yeah, Andy Schnare was getting electricity going, and I was building barbecues for the food because the vendors needed something to cook with, so we had to buy some barbecues and put them together. So it was a whole team effort, and if you do see some of the other publications, you'll see a picture of Brittany and I out in front of the fish plant with those sea breaking behind us. Pretty neat shot. So earlier in the morning, it was high tide, and there was big waves, and the trees were down, but the community kind of came together and helped out.
Okay. Is that the picture where Brittany's veil blows off and you catch it midair?
Yep.
Yeah,
I've
that's
seen
the
it.
one.
It's amazing. Now, I also just want to point out your dad, Brittany, almost canceled the wedding the morning. He was kind of saying the morning of, we can't do this. It's just too nuts. So what made you go ahead?
Yeah, he was very, like Drew was just talking about, the conditions on the roads were just not ideal. And, we really wanted to make sure our guests were safe. And I think he was really concerned about that. But once they got the roads clear and everyone was kind of saying, you know what, we don't have power at home. So if you can give us a warm meal and a drink and some lighting, that would be awesome. They would be sitting at home in the dark twiddling their thumbs anyway. So for everyone to have something fun to do and have the most epic hurricane party, it was worth the drive, that's for sure.
I'm curious, so when you mention this now, I was thinking of that before, were you worried at one point that people simply weren't going to show up because it was so bad outside?
Yep, that's a really great question. I was very concerned, but also, empathetic to people's safety and comfort levels. And it's honestly remarkable. We had guests from all over North America that had flown in for this wedding, and there was about 156 guests invited to our dinner, and 148 of them showed up. So we only lost a few guests, and rightfully so. The conditions for not everyone weren't the best, but there was nothing bad that happened, thankfully.
Oh, you guys. Go ahead, Drew.
I was going to ask.
It was once we got there, it was probably the safest location to be. The building's big. We had power going. We had food. A lot of people showed up to the wedding actually hadn't showered yet because their power went out.
Sure.
And it's a bit of a fairy tale story. With I'm a sailmaker myself, and Brittany is the daughter of a fisherman. We got married in a fish plant in a hurricane in South Shore, Nova Scotia. So you can't really get any more maritime than that. So I think it was a great story.
Waiting for the TV movie because it sounds like it's coming. Okay.
Yeah, that's what people keep saying. They're like, when are they going to make this into a movie?
I love that
movie.
it's garnered so much attention, and it's because ultimately you got your fairy tale ending. Congrats to you both. Get back to enjoying the honeymoon.
They're playing golf.
Thank you. So nice to talk to you guys. Have a great evening.
Take care.
Congrats again, Brittany and Drew.
Playing golf on their honeymoon.
Each to their own.
Absolutely. I think each is his own here. He's playing. I don't know what she's doing. By the way, you know what I thought? They must have, to all their guests, they must have served lobster.
Of course they did.
It's a great wedding.
Hey.
Informative.
Interactive.
And always interesting.
This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
You'll meet a 13-year-old from BC who just landed a deal with PlayStation for a game he developed. Yeah, 13 years old. And get this, he's been doing this since he was 6. Max TREST is his name, and Astrolander is his game.
A real underachiever.
I want you to think back for a moment to what you were doing when you were 13 years old. 13 years old. I'm quite willing to bet that you hadn't just landed a deal with PlayStation for a video game you developed. Yeah, Max TREST is not your average 13-year-old. He is a video game developer from BC, and he has developed the highly anticipated game. It's called Astrolander, and it's going to be released exclusively on PlayStation 5. Max TREST joins us now. Hey, Max.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, congratulations, and thanks so much for your time today.
Wait, I'm trying to remember what I was doing when I was 13. I believe I developed something, but it was involving a box and a hammer, so it probably wasn't as sophisticated as Max has done.
Yeah, was it a soapbox derby? Maybe were you in a...
No, it was to make 2 holes in a cardboard box to pretend it was like a mask.
Max, do you know other 13-year-olds that are doing things like you're doing?
No, not really. I think this is a very unique case.
I think it is, too. How long have you been doing this?
So I've been working on Astrolander for about, I want to say, a year to 2 years. But I've always had an interest in developing my own games and programming. So I started really when I was 6 and eventually got on to Unity, which is what Astrolander is being developed in.
What's that?
6.
I'm sorry, what, you got onto what?
Unity.
What's that?
So Unity is a game engine. It's where the game is developed, and I do the programming in a language called C#.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I need to repeat on that. Is it? How do you spell that, Max? What is it? Uni?
Unity. So
Unity. Okay, it is Unity.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to act like we know everything about everything. And clearly, you're aware of what you're dealing with here, Max.
I don't understand. So your parents must be game developers, computer people. I mean, you start doing this at the age of 6. Where did this come from?
Yeah, well, my dad really inspired me, but I've always had an interest on my own, and it's just expanded beyond what I was originally taught. And I've always been looking into it myself and doing research and learning more.
So you started when you were 6 years old, and you've just always kept at it the whole time. Do you go to regular school, Max?
Well, I'm technically homeschooled, but I obtained a whole bunch of high school credits in the past, and I'm right now in grade 10.
Okay. And so you spend a lot of your time doing this, but then you're also doing school on the side, but from home.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
This year, though, I'm planning on taking the year off since I have a whole bunch of credits for grade 11 and 12. Like I already have comp sci 11 and 12 and entrepreneurship 12.
Of course you do.
So I'll be taking this year off to focus on the game since it's just a great opportunity.
Yeah,
At
I
13.
remember at that age we were all thinking of taking a year off.
Sure,
remember?
yeah, of course we were. How did it all come about? So you work on this game. You say you put it on Unity, Astrolander. Where does PlayStation come into play, and how do you get a deal like this, Max?
Yeah, so I was exhibiting the PC demo version at a show called Seattle Indies Expo. It's the gaming show. The PlayStation team was there. So Shuhei Yoshida, who's the head of PlayStation Indies and former head of SIE Worldwide Studios, and John Turner, who's the former lead of partner development. They both played the game, and they liked it so much, I decided to bring the game to PlayStation. They offered me the chance to bring it to the system.
Okay, are they paying? They're not just doing this as a favor. Are they paying you for this?
No, I'm not being paid.
What? You're not being paid? That doesn't seem right.
It's really like a great opportunity, and I'm really excited to bring it to PlayStation 5 since it has some special, unique features.
Okay, first of all, we don't know obviously what the game is. Can you describe what this game is? Well, what do you do in this game?
And you might want to know, Aaron, it is based on a game out of the 70s from an Atari's 70s game. So that, Max, that we might be able to follow you on. But yeah, tell us about the game, how it works.
Yeah, so Astrolander is an action-packed PS5 exclusive local co-op game featuring dramatic cinematics, intense action, and lush levels.
Oh.
2 players work together to control the haptic and their sidekick feedback. 2 adventurers seeking cute robots on the missions to save the MVPs, the most valuable programs.
Right.
So 2 players will have to work together. 1 player will control the thrust of haptic, while the other will control the rotation of haptic.
Mm-hmm. And it's based on what 70s game?
Yeah, so the original game was more based on Lunar Lander, but it's gone more beyond that.
Of course. Yeah.
There's now like abilities, for example, in the game that you'll have to use. So you'll have to move around the touchpad to cause tidal waves that will destroy the cyberquacks, the rubber ducks in the game.
Of course.
Or there's going to be a part where you have to shrink down in order to get past small holes or small obstacles.
Max, I feel like I want to ask you. So, I mean, this is your bag. This is your bag. You're like very, very skilled, highly talented at what you're doing. Clearly, do you have a sense of how totally cool it is as a 13-year-old to have PlayStation 5 pick up your game?
Yeah, I think it's really amazing. I never really expected this to happen. It's just really amazing. I'm still somewhat in shock.
And can it turn into a career?
Of course, yeah. There's lots of full-time game development studios. PlayStation has their own studios. It's a massive industry. I believe it's larger than the movie, music, and TV industries combined.
So that my next question was, you said you were at a show, they played this game, your PlayStation people. Was part of that discussion possibly taking a job or being offered a job working with a PlayStation development team or not?
Right now, I'm too young for that, probably. But I became what's called a partner developer. So I'm working with them to really help bring the game to PlayStation and really make it a really amazing experience for players.
Both Natasha and I are trying to understand if you're, I mean, Microsoft is a multi-gazillion-dollar company. They want to use your game and they've asked you for permission to use it, yet they've offered you no money. You talked to your dad about this. Did your dad think this was okay?
So it's really what's called partner development. So I'm kind of under NDA, so I can't really explain all the back end of how it works as much as I would love to. So I can't really go too much into detail.
Fair enough.
He's on an NDA, Natasha.
Well, yeah. I mean, you would think so. Okay, Max, did you at least get your allowance majorly upped? Like, I'm hoping you got a big raise in your allowance.
Maybe.
What, you did?
Maybe. Is that under an NDA too?
No, but not really. I'm mainly just working on the game and really focused on that.
Do you get allowance?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I mean, if this thing is a hit, what happens next, right? If enough people love the game and it becomes a big deal, what happens next? Do you know what's the rollout on this thing?
Yeah, so the plan is if it does really well, I'm hoping to do a sequel, maybe even a trilogy in the future. I have some really great ideas that I'm really excited to share in the future.
Right. And a movie deal? You working on that or?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
You know that's coming, though, something like this, Max. This doesn't happen every day that a 13-year-old gets into this situation. What are your dreams for the future? Like, if you could conjure up your dream job, Max, what would it be?
I think really making Lost Cartridge Creations a studio that everyone will know.
What would be something that would qualify as that? Like something that everybody knows now in the world of video games?
I think really when they think of PlayStation, they'll think of Astrolander.
Right. No, I mean, I understand that but in terms of other games that have been developed already, like what do you look at and go, wow, I wish my game could be as successful as that is?
I think it's really putting a smile on people's faces, is really seeing other games when they do that and getting such a global audience talking about it. Yeah. I think I'd really love that for Astrolander.
Do you have a favorite game that you play?
Yeah, what's your favorite game to play, Max?
Right now, my favorite game is actually City Skylines. It's a city building game, strategy game.
Uh-huh. City Skylines.
So I'm thinking about, we've read these studies that have said for parents that we should maybe let our kids play video games more because it could lead to a very fruitful career. Did you have to sell your parents on that, or they were already okay with you always playing video games?
Honestly, I don't play that many video games, quite frankly.
You develop because you're busy developing.
Just develops them, yeah.
Oh, Max, here's something else. Your parents must be so proud. How did your friends react to all this?
I think they were really surprised too. I think my friends were really like, wow, I didn't really expect that to happen. I don't really get to talk to them anymore as much now that I'm so busy working on the game, but we get to occasionally chat.
Okay,
well,
I hope
too
so.
Bad. Yeah, don't give up on your friends.
Got to be a kid still, Max.
Yeah. Max, we want to wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, congratulations. Great to meet you. That's Max TREST. 13 years old. He developed this game, Astrolander, and it's going to be released exclusively on PlayStation 5.
And to what your child has done at the age of 13, if you can think back, thank you to Patty and DDO who sent this. The only thing I developed when I was 13 was acne.
That's a great line, Patty.
That wraps up another edition of The Week That Was here on the iHeartRadio Network. I'm Aaron Rand along with Natasha Hall, and we will see you next week.
Have a great week.
This has been the Montreal Now podcast with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
Listen live on your radio weekday afternoons from 2 to 6
on CJAD 800
or through the iHeartRadio app.